welcome folks to the new version of Freedom Hub. I'm Charlie Froman, the co-host of the old Freedom Hub with Jeff Cantor, whom most of you saw in the invitation is sick. He's had a long hospitalization. He's out now in physical therapy, and he's still able to upload our videos to YouTube and Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon. And maybe he'll come back from the dead and do even more. He's a resilient old libertarian entrepreneur, and I owe a lot to him for getting me involved in the Forbes featured sharing that we hope folks, whether in a small business or in a family, upgrade to from lousy health insurance. And that's the beauty of this, is all of us are entrepreneurs. We're all advocates. We're part of the same growing tribe for this new normal that we want to make in a way that's really good for us, not terrifying. And our guest today is Kurt Wallace. And first, my new co-host, Jim Graypeck. Say a few words after I say a few words, if you would, Jim. Okay. I met Jim, I forget how, probably through LinkedIn or something. And a couple of things. He's operating Pavilion, which is what Epcot originally sought out to do, which is to create an entry point for healthcare that's more hospitality based and more integrated and more fun and interesting and engaging, to get folks to care more about taking care of themselves and being open-minded to the therapies that increasingly we know should be out there, but for some strange reason aren't. So it really solves a lot of problems with primary care and wellness and prevention. Jim's also a documentarian, and like me, likes to go down rabbit holes because the mainstream version of reality is ridiculous. So Jim, is that kind of who you are?
Yeah, and to follow up,
you're also a healer.
Yeah, I'm a biofeedback practitioner with using technology that I discovered years ago. I was hired to do some marketing work for this company, and I mean, this device could really look into your body, and it measured 12,000 health variables. I never saw anything like it, and that got me so interested. I dove in and became bought a system, became a practitioner, board certified, just because, and I've helped a lot of people with this. Now, the funny thing is, I was at a conference recently, and it turns out I met a guy that came out of Los Alamos Labs, and he said this technology was reverse engineered ET technology. So there you have it. I'm definitely on the outer edge, I suppose, or the people who invented this are. But this is what we need. Epcot was originally the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Healthcare, definitely a big part of it, because we're all sicker from the toxins, our foods, et cetera. We need to go back to better living, and getting, as Charlie said, the right version of reality, who we are, what we need, and so on, reconnecting as community. So that's really what the Pavilion is about. Hope to put these around the country, maybe the world. And in the meantime, to bring on those people on this program that can have ideas for how we can move forward in a more evolved, smarter, healthier way. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. And I just noticed that I have Jeff's Zoom. So I'm listed as Jeff Cantor. So maybe I'm honoring him. He's not dead. I'm not quite dead yet. Monty Python reference. And let me show folks here. The YouTube channel, where you could see all our wonderful videos from the past 3 years. And I was looking through them to find some connections for today's guest, Kurt, and there's a lot of connections, a lot of education disruptors, a lot of business coaches for how to survive post-COVID. So go to YouTube, search Freedom Hub Working Group, and you can look at them at your leisure. Today's guest, Kurt Wallace, and here's his LinkedIn page, and something he wrote recently on our brain and the future of learning. Kurt Wallace is an old co-host of mine from Ron Paul Radio, which I have to mention because in 2008, I guess I was a lobbyist then before I went to go teach in DC's inner city, get my master's in teaching. And I was always close to Ron Paul. He almost hired me in '98 to run his Liberty Caucus. And when I was a lobbyist in the financial trade association industry, I used to go to his office, and it was a shelter from the storm. It was like an oasis in a desert of evil in DC and the Capitol. And Ken Snyder had asked me to staff Ron in 2007 when he went up to New Hampshire, and I couldn't do it for whatever reason. But this entrepreneur funded a blimp that went up the East Coast, and for Ron Paul Radio, I went up in the blimp and broadcast live. There was an NPR person in there, someone from some other media channel, and Kurt was a fellow broadcaster on Ron Paul Radio, which became Break the Matrix Radio, and it was a lot of fun. I just sat in my Capitol Hill house, and for an hour each week, just started talking controversial stuff to stir the pot. And it was, Occupy Wall Street was going on, and libertarians were among those protesters, educating them about the cause of their frustration, which was the Fed. And Peter Schiff has that famous YouTube video in New York's Central Park trying to educate all these protesters about the Fed as the source of their angst. Kurt had a show. He can talk about what he talked about. I don't recall. There was a wide variety there. And then over the past couple of years, as Jeff and I started disrupting Blue Cross with our sharing for better health payment with people, we started reconnecting with all our old connections. And Kurt tried his best to educate us on digital currency. And we got excited about this one token coin, organic coin. I'm not sure if it's still around. There's been a lot of ups and downs with these digital coins. And Kurt had an aspect of that he could talk about with cold storage or something. And again, Kurt, I'm too dumb to get it. And now he really is with this Learnie venture, Learnie, helping people learn correctly, which is I'm into, because getting my master's in education, I had to research, what motivates learning. And for social studies, civics, I learned that being provocative helps to get folks engaged with caring about, why history matters, why political economy matters. So this certainly interests me. How do you get folks to learn? Because he has a great piece here that we'll all identify with, how K through 12 is just horrible. And it does the assembly line of education. Anybody studying the history of education knows this. It was assembly line education on purpose. Rockefeller funded the compulsory model we have today to create worker bees. And all the great education theorists that libertarians like recommended the opposites, John Taylor Gatto, et cetera. And now is a great time in this new normal with gig work exploding, people not wanting to go back to the office, to have what Kurt has to recommend as the way to learn in little bits and on the job learning. And that's how I learned. Who was it that I just watched, Kurt? It was Steve Hackett, guitarist of Genesis, talking about leaving school at age 15 to go play guitar. And, he became a big reader on his own. I think a lot of folks learn on their own after school. Anyways, Kurt, that's my intro of you. I'll stop sharing so you could have the screen with your face, and go ahead and tell us about the way to learn in the new normal.
Well, you've covered a lot, and thank you for the introduction, and thanks for having me as part of Freedom Hub. Charles, you brought back a lot of memories actually with the Ron Paul days. There was at that time, what happened to me is I watched a video, and it woke me up to the economic conditions of our country and what was a battle that has been going on since the inception of the United States regarding economics and financial power, and whether or not freedom exists within that construct. And there was an attempt to make that to make economics empowered by the people, and then there were attempts to overthrow that, and now we're in a over 100 years of that with the Federal Reserve System. And And so that was kind of what woke me up to it being interested in politics. And then I was real concerned about foreign policy, and I was concerned about civil liberties after that. I think that's really what makes up that whole kind of Ron Paul revolution was a group of very excited people. I was kind of reflecting on that recently. What a incredible time that was, because people were waking up. People were starting to be concerned about things that were kind of a negative thing to talk about at the time, which was like the Constitution, things like that. And people were starting to realize that there was something very serious in the way that we were losing our liberties. And so during that period, I did have a radio show on Ron Paul Radio and then Ron Paul Revolution Radio. But the blimp, when you talked about the blimp, that was really cool. That was, so that whole period, there was this major effort to try to get attention because the media would not talk to Ron Paul, even though he was raising more money than anyone else on, he had some incredible money raising days, which were kind of led by Trevor Lyman, which I've done a lot of work with. And Trevor, just a bit of a shout out to this guy. He did the Ron Paul blimp to get attention, and he did the money bombs, which we raised over $4 million in a single day on November 5th. And then again, $6 million on December 16th, Tea Party Day. And then the Tea Party Republicans kind of co-opted that whole thing and turned it into more of a Republican thing after that. And that's kind of where the Tea Party deal came from. But what in 2010, I heard about this thing called Bitcoin. And I was listening to Jeffrey Tucker, or reading some stuff from Jeffrey Tucker, I can't remember exactly. And Jeffrey Tucker was talking about this thing called Bitcoin, which was this idea that there would be a uncontrollable currency that would be that no government can control, and that would be able to decentralize economics and have a limited supply of a currency that could not be inflated. And I got pretty excited about this concept, and then I learned more about the technology behind it, and that's been what's interesting to me, is the blockchain technology behind Bitcoin. So the technology is being used for a number of things. I got involved with a company that manufactures precious metals coins, and I think a lot of libertarians probably appreciate stacking silver and gold and having that as a hedge against fiat currency. But with this particular venture, the cold storage coins are actually they're physical copper, silver, and gold coins that you can load Bitcoin onto the back of, or other cryptocurrencies, depending on what type of wallet that we put on the back of the coins. And there's no electronics involved, and these coins are have a high melt rate. They're flood proof and corrosion proof, so people could actually store their digital cryptocurrencies on the back of physical silver and gold, and that's still in existence today. And I was with that company for a while, helped launch that company and build it, and so then I was approached by a friend who, and I've always been interested in education, just like you have, Charles. I think most people are, and really, I'll get into that in a minute, but I was approached by a friend who had this idea. He built a number of apps, and I had built an app that was a blockchain app as well. that his app was based on the concept, after 25 years of being an ed tech, the concept that education is broken and it needs to be flexible. It needs to be tailored to the individual, and it needs to be free for people to be able to share their knowledge as well. And so he developed this product, this app called Learnie. And Learnie is a micro learning app, and it gives the individual the ability to create short micro lessons, and using a concept called pechakucha, which is a Japanese term for chit chat. And there's a whole world of similar to Toastmasters, of individuals out there that practice their skills of utilizing pechakucha. And pechakucha, basically the formula for pechakucha, which is a form of storytelling, is that you have 20 seconds per thought to get your idea on each step of a process or a story, and then you have to move on to the next 20 seconds, and you have 20 of those that you can do. TED Talks are notorious for using this style of presentation because it forces the person that's providing the information to be clear and concise and cut to the chase. Don't get into a lot of minutia, but be able to deliver the information, the important parts of the information, so that the people are able to get that information and then utilize it however they need to. And so Learnie is loosely based on that. And so Learnie has individual bursts within an entire lesson of 30 seconds, and you're limited to 30 seconds of presenting that information, and then move on to the next step or next thought or next idea. And it's a great challenge for people that are educating, and it's also just a lot of fun for individuals that are consuming that content, because they're able to get the information that they need. I don't know if you've ever taken YouTube University courses, but I have. I learned how to change an alternator, and I had to go through watching a guy talk about his dog and talk about his koi pond, and then he got to the point of what bolts I needed to take off in order to remove it, how I had to twist it, that sort of thing. But Learnie forces the educator to change, and also it's tailored to Zennials and people that are consuming information quickly. And so it's sort of like a TikTok for learning, is what Learnie is structured as. And so you talked about a number of things, and for instance, the article that I had written on the history of education, and it really is broken. The education system has been archaic. It's an assembly line format. It makes no sense that you take individuals and put them in classrooms for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, where they learn, and they're forced to be quiet during the most energetic parts of their lives. They're forced to sit and be quiet, not able to go to the bathroom when they want to, not able to eat healthy, not able to eat when they need to. We're learning a lot about blood sugar. That affects people's ability to learn. And then everybody's at a certain average of learning, rather than being able to, if they excel in a particular subject, being able to soar and be excited about their education experience. And then also, if they struggle in areas, they don't have to struggle with that if they're not able to meet the medium. So education needs to be tailored to the individual, and it's just an artificial world. And the fact that these kids are forced to be together. They don't have the experience of the real world where they're meeting people of all different ages and that sort of thing. My son was homeschooled from 8th grade till, and he's about to graduate high school, and he's about to go to college. And he's been with people who love him, who care about him, who have an interest in his education, and his education's been tailored to him. And we've used a lot of online courses, a lot of online schooling, and he's been able to learn such a variety of things that he would have never learned had he been in public education or even in a private school. So he's had a lot of flexibility that the world delivers through the internet, through this medium. And I think that that is the direction that the world is going to go in. Education is probably the one area that has been left behind in terms of growth and development. And because of COVID and the lockdowns, government shutdowns, school shutdowns, parents have taken a real interest in their kids' education, and also in the corporate world. Corporate education is a big thing. And the biggest problem with corporate education is that they're using the same model of digitizing books and materials, and having long drawn out, boring, frustrating, forced education onto their employees that really isn't benefiting them, and they don't retain. There's in the ed tech world, there's something called 70-20-10. And what that is that 70%, you were talking about this earlier, Charles, of people who learn on the job through experiencing the job, figuring it out on their own, or asking a fellow employee about something, and they figure it out through doing rather than through book learning. 10% is the formal education, which is learning management systems, which companies spend millions and millions of dollars a year. I would say, to a degree, waste millions of dollars a year on something that that's only retained about 10% of what they learn. So in the corporate world, it's a big problem. The 20% is the coworkers sharing knowledge with their other coworkers. But the people that have been there, that have tenure, that have experience, they need to do their jobs. They don't have time, and they're not getting paid to train their fellow employees over and over and over again. And that's the biggest problem in the corporate world is training. And a lot of employees now are deskless. They're frontline workers. I don't mean like COVID frontline workers, but in the sense that they work out of the office. They're not sitting in the office working. They're out and about. They're doing their jobs. And how do they have access to information that they need right away to be able to do their job effectively? And so what we've done is, we're not a replacement for learning management systems, because there are regulations and there's compliance, and there are very important safety concerns in a lot of jobs. And so learning management systems are valuable. They have a lot of value, and they provide a lot of information that, quite frankly, Learnie would be more of a benefit as an extension of, in terms of getting to the point and getting specific information that relates to a particular area of skills or knowledge that an individual might need, or collaboration. And Jim was talking earlier about the community, and that's a big part of what Learnie provides, is community. It provides the ability for people to share freely with one another. And so just to give you, for instance, in the medical world, you have nurses that go out in home care, and then you have hospital care, and you have doctors, and you have patients. And so if a nurse is out working with a particular patient and there's something that needs to be done with that particular patient that is specific to that patient, they could, in their private secured cohort on the Learnie platform, create a micro lesson to explain the nuances of that particular patient and the things that need to be covered and taken care of for that patient. So if another nurse comes in, they know exactly what to do for that particular patient. It can be general information or broad information. It can be any kind of information. It's basically an empty palette that it's a canvas that anyone can create if they're given the ability to create within a private cohort, that is, in the corporate world. So the 20% of people that have the knowledge can create micro lessons for the rest of the field, the people that are newer than them. And that information is retained in the cohorts, and it's retained by the company. So if an employee who has 20 years of experience in their job, they can create a number of these micro lessons for the company, and that asset is available ongoing in the future. And who has more credibility within an organization? The person that you're sitting in front of for 2 weeks at a conference, in a conference room, learning information that you're not going to remember, or the person that is actually doing the job, has the experience, and knows how to be efficient, knows how to make more money for the company, how to save money for the company. They are in the trenches. They're the ones that have the information. They're the ones that have the credibility because they do the job. So that's, that has a lot of relevance, and we lose that opportunity. We lose that. So Learnie we have 2 different verticals with Learnie. We have the free Learnie for everyone, and you can go in there and make micro lessons. You can talk about libertarian theory or libertarian ideas, monetary policy. We have a section for blockchain as well. And then you have the enterprise version, and that's for corporations to be able to have private, secure groups and cohorts that they can go in and share information. And within the platform as well, rather than having comment section, we have video section, so video commenting, so that they can collaborate. We have a medical device company that is using this, and they're able to have their doctors go in and take an x-ray and say, listen, this is kind of an unusual situation. Here's the x-ray. What do you guys think? And other doctors can weigh in and collaborate with one another on what they think might be a solution or a direction to go in for a particular individual. So there's a lot of ways that this can be utilized. And the last thing, and this is something that I was brought in to help with the Learnie platform, is integrating blockchain technology into Learnie. And essentially there are close to 2 billion people in the world that are unbanked. In other words, they don't have bank accounts, they can't get bank accounts, but they can get access to cryptocurrency. They can get access to Bitcoin or Ethereum or any cryptocurrency that they want on a device. Most people have phones, and I used to work in South Africa, and in Africa at that time in the late 90s, minutes could be used for currency, cell phone minutes. And that was a big thing in different countries in Africa, that they would utilize minutes as a way to purchase goods and services from one another. And now they have the ability to do that with cryptocurrency without having a bank account. They can keep the Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever it is, on their phone, on their phone wallet, or on their computer wallet. Everybody has a phone. It's pretty standard in third world countries, in places where people are unbanked, and people are unbanked in the United States as well. Some people by choice. You get your hardcore off the grid folks, and they don't use bank accounts. They use other methods, PayPal and that sort of thing. But that's what Bitcoin has been able to do, is give people a little bit more freedom in that respect, or give them flexibility and empower them. So if an individual, say in the Amazon rainforest, wants to teach about medicinal properties of varieties of plants, and they are, they live in third world conditions, but they have a mobile phone, they'll be able to, once we develop out the marketplace, that's what we're doing with this blockchain, is creating a blockchain marketplace. They will be able to create micro lessons, sell their micro lessons to anyone, to corporations or to individuals. People can then pay for their private courses, and they'll be able to pay in any currency that they want on the Learnie platform. They can enter the platform utilizing US dollars or euro or yen, and the individual who's receiving income, we can convert that for them into a cryptocurrency if that makes it easier for them. And so it gives people the ability to build wealth and create wealth through community, and through an opportunity that they don't have right now to share knowledge that they have. And there's a lot of knowledge out there. That's one of the things that was exciting about the internet, is that it seemed like it was going to be a platform for free exchange of ideas, and it's been co-opted by algorithms and power structures, and that's the unfortunate side of it. But with Learnie, I believe that one of the founders was part of an organization called Trust No Robots, and there are people out there that actually worship AI. We don't believe that AI should be utilized as a tool for people, not as a control mechanism or an out of control mechanism like it has been with social media platforms. So our hearts are in the right place, and that is that's a very important thing for us in terms of allowing human beings to use technology for good. And one last thing, we are a B Corp, and that's a benefits corporation. And basically we're for profit, but we're also for good is the terminology there. And with a B corporation, when we do a deal with a corporation, we can match them up with a nonprofit and give that nonprofit the enterprise solution at no charge. We can match up the corporate deal, and then that's our way of sort of giving back to communities that need a service like this, where they want to be able to share information freely with one another and help. And we just signed up the Amy Copeland Foundation. They're a nonprofit out of Georgia. Amy Copeland was a young lady who was out having an adventure out in nature, and a flesh-eating microbe almost took her life. It took all 4 of her limbs, and she started a nonprofit organization. And now what she does is she's got these ATVs that are wheelchair ATVs that allow individuals who are quadriplegic or paraplegic or amputees to be able to go out in national forests and adventure, go around and not be confined. They have the ability to go over logs and through over creeks and anything that they want, and go out there and experience nature. And they're using Learnie as a platform to train people to use these ATVs, because they need to be trained in order to do so. And this makes it very easy for individuals with accessibility problems to be able to learn how to operate a device like that. And so I would say that I've covered a lot of ground, so I'll stop now.
That
And
was
thank you.
great, Kurt. Thanks so much. Sounds exciting. Very interested in your comments, political comments about artificial intelligence, because I do believe social media has made folks aware of its dangers. Yet, I don't think any of us really want to limit technology as a possible tool to make life better. So I think folks like you who can teach us how to find that balance so we don't get wiped out as a species. I think that's probably an important thing to keep talking about and monitoring and kind of blowing the whistle when things get dangerous. Do you have possibly something to show us on the screen about Learnie, or
Sure.
just?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I can share a little bit about Learnie. Let me see here.
And as you do that, folks, if you see the raise hand icon under the reactions tab, feel free to ask your questions.
I'll go ahead and show you the app. Let me open it up here. And so we have a web and a mobile app, and that's let me show you I'm going to show you the web app now. Just give you an idea of what it looks like. Thank you for that opportunity. I didn't realize I could do that. Okay. All right. So can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the web app, and these are individual micro lessons. You can read the titles on them. You can go in and actually click a micro lesson. You can explore. And I belong to a number of cohorts here. This account, All Terrain Georgia, is the Amy Copeland. I'm not going to show these because these are private, but I'll show you the public cohorts. Okay, so we have a number of public cohorts here. Since we're in kind of the health world, I'll show you the health cohort, and this is just a number of people in here who have created micro lessons on different things regarding health, how to meditate, intro to triathlon, yoga. And another thing that an individual can do is they can create a learning journey. So for instance, with yoga, this particular individual created a number of yoga micro lessons. And after you've taken yoga intro, you'll be drip fed the next yoga lesson. So it will send you automatically a lesson based on the format that particular instructor has created. So that's the health cohort, and there are a number of others. The blockchain cohort's not been filled out too much, but there's a little bit in there. And then economics, which is a financial, which is a big thing for me. Here's one on how to end the Fed. So libertarians can come in and create micro lessons on the platform and share important ideas. And basically that's Jeffrey Tucker saying, shutter the doors, just shut the doors. That's how you end the Fed. There's nothing else we need to do. You just close it down and that's it. And I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that, but in terms of money supply and everything, but that's that. And you can go through and see there's just tons of stuff here. Here's one that Amy Copeland did for the Amy Copeland Foundation. Let me see here. All Terrain Georgia sneak peek. I haven't seen that one yet, but if we click on here, you can see this is kind of what it looks like when you see a micro lesson, and then that's her.
Don't hear it there.
So that's the Amy Copeland Foundation, and there's just stuff on everything from health to cooking to, and anything somebody has information that they want to get out there, they could do that on the free version.
How
And
do
then
you
if they want,
how do you start
wanna-
something on the free version? Can you walk us through that?
what's that? I'm sorry.
On the free version, can you walk us through on your site there how to get started? Something easy and quick.
Well, these are all free. This is
No,
the free.
how you start it? If one of us wants to start a join you in some way and do a Learnie.
Oh, if somebody wants to create a Learnie,
Yeah.
just download the app on their phone. It's in the Apple Store and it's in Google Play Store, and then create an account and it'll walk you through it. It'll actually walk you through the process. I can show you what it looks like on the mobile version. The Learnies are actually created on your phone. They're not created on the web. You can access it on the web, but you would have to create the actual micro lessons using your phone.
I can think of, in my own case, doing one on Kundalini yoga, which I teach, or how to upgrade as a cash patient. That might be a good one.
Yeah. There's, in terms of providing very specific information that people need, that's one of the cool things about Learnie, is that you can do that on the fly. It's organic, it's disposable. So if you make a micro lesson that becomes antiquated because information changes or specifics change, regulations change, you can create a new one. You can take it, since it's a series of these small short bursts, if it's just one burst that you need to recreate, you can recreate that burst and keep the rest of the micro lesson, so you haven't wasted all of that time that you've done on creating a micro lesson. So it gives you that ability, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Does that make
Jim.
sense?
Yes, I see Jim Greatbeck has his hands raised. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, fascinating. I don't see anybody. Where's my view? Wait a minute. I just want to see who I want to see where Kurt is. I can talk to him.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. So if you're an organization, I guess you can have a private network set up like this, or, and then my question is,
Yep.
the people that are doing these, do you have examples? Do you know how companies are incentivizing them? Are they putting out requirements? Look, you're senior management, you need to do like, 5 of these a month or something. What's going on out there?
Yeah, so that's something that we don't have a lot of metrics on, but but that is what some companies are doing. We have a couple of companies that signed up last year, and one of them, both of them required their employees to do micro lessons on things that they really wanted the rest of the company to know about. And within an organization, you can create as many cohorts as you want. So you can have an HR cohort, you can have a cohort for sales, you can have a cohort for training on engineering, you can have it on development, technology development, whatever that makes sense for those particular groups within your organization. And so they would be the only ones in those cohorts. So maybe everybody in the company would be in the HR cohort, but then you would just have the people that are in the sales cohort do that are in the sales cohort. And we have something called Pitch Tank for organizations. So in the sales cohort, the salespeople can practice their pitches with one another within the sales cohort as well. So that's something that we just developed a couple of months ago and added into the Learnie platform. We've got a roadmap of development on the platform, even though it's a fully developed product. We have a roadmap of things that we want to do. That it just takes time, and as we grow, we'll add these things in. But that's a great question, and And so individuals are required by companies that are utilizing Learnie to do that. And then others, they just motivated and they just do what they do because they like to do it. There are people that are one other thing about the platform is that when an individual, let's say somebody who's teaching within a learning environment, whether it's a school or a college, or they have students, the teacher-student relationship. The teacher can create a micro lesson and allow the individuals to respond privately to them, maybe even require them to do so. Another thing that we understand about education is that when someone teaches something, they learn it better. They retain it. It becomes knowledge for them once they teach it. So that's another direction that people are going in, utilizing Learnie, is for the educator, the teacher, to require the student to teach the information that they've just learned to the other students in their own way, provide lessons and have interaction. And so because we have video response within each micro lesson, those video responses can be made private or public. And the instructor can make it all private or give the individual the ability to make it private or public. So the response that someone gives can be just directed privately to the person that's created the micro lesson. So it's just a one-on-one conversation, or it can be public so that the other individuals within that cohort that are part of that cohort can also see the response. Maybe it's a different way of approaching a task or something that can be part of it. But that gives you a little bit of an overview. I'll give you an example to see if I can find.
We're running out of time
may have.
here, Kurt.
Okay.
If you don't mind, let's run through 3 more questions. Bharat, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Thanks, Kurt. It has been a wonderful presentation. I'm working with the neurodiverse community, and they are short attention span learners. And this is we're talking about 200 million people in the world who are impacted by this. So this can be very interesting for people who are on the spectrum or neurodiverse, and their attention span is usually 4 or 5 minutes. And I think what you are doing is wonderful, and breaking them down. Have you thought of doing something for this community? And I would really like to talk to you further, because I'm dealing with this community throughout the world, and very keen to do something for them. I'm working with a lot of startups in the space, and who are making huge impact on this community.
This is exactly what the platform was designed for, is the short attention span learner. Most people have the attention span of a goldfish, 5 seconds. They're not able to, kids these days, they're just scrolling. They get that bit and they scroll. And that's why we made this. So I would love to talk to you about doing something. We'd be glad to collaborate. So let's talk after, for sure.
Yeah, and focusing on skill and competency for them is crucial, because then they can get some vocation. So skill and competency is where I'm focusing on for them, so that they can be productive to the society.
Thanks, Bharat.
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Are you running into pushback, from in organizations? Like, if someone creates too many learnees, does that make them obsolete? Like, now I don't have to pay you 6 figures. I can pay somebody 50,000 to do the same job because you created all the learnees. Like, is there a built-in thing that, makes it beneficial for people in the corporation to create learnees?
As far as the individuals who've created the learnings working for the corporation?
Yeah, like if I'm working for a big corporation if I'm working for a big corporation and I'm you know, I've worked my way up and I've learned everything that there is to know about the business, and now you come in with this new program that says, hey, you know, create these little video shortcuts to show other people how to do what you do. I'm just making myself obsolete. So now they don't have to, the corporation doesn't have to pay me what they were paying me. Now they can pay me less. Now they can pay not me less, someone else less to do the same job, because I just told them everything that I've learned in my 25 years of existence in this corporation.
Yeah, we haven't had any pushback like that. Nothing like that, no.
Interesting.
Good question, Joe. Put the poison pill in your learning to keep the folks reliant on you.
Well, it's almost like you talked about the blockchain. You talked
competition-
about the blockchain. So it was like, I thought maybe you might have a blockchain solution where the people who are now creating this, and as people go in and they do it, then there's some sort of a reward for, you know, the person sharing their 25 years of expertise, right?
Well, that's up to the corporation if they want to pay their employees to.
Corporations don't
educate.
work like that. Come on, Kurt.
That's up to, if they want to incentivize them in some way, that's within the corporation. But usually a lot of the time what's happening is that the employees are training their fellow employees, and they're doing it over and over again. Rather than having to do it over and over again, it saves them time and gives them the ability to do their job rather than training a new person over and over again. So that, you know, capturing that information is a value to the employees that are there to do their job, not to train other people all the time.
Okay, thanks. Dr. Benz, you gonna unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. Excellent program. I'm really enjoying it, Kurt.
Thank you.
Just as a point of reference, I never found anybody to have a short attention span. You hear a lot of talk about it, but when somebody has a chronic illness and they have a short learning span, you can give them a program that's 2 or 3 hours, and afterwards they'll say they wanted more. So it's all relative to what the importance of the topic is for the individual. So I'm wondering if there's any application here for learning programs that we're creating for chronic illness, because we know we can work with organizations like LearnDesk, and I'm wondering if you're an option for them, and how you would share income, because in their model, you can charge what you want and you get the percentage that you want, 70, 80, 90%. And if they're big enough, then you get enough traffic. So I'm just curious about how Learnie will fit into the corporate wellness programs that we work with.
Okay. Yeah, so that Learnie's platform can be monetized however a corporation would like to do that. So they can give people access to their cohorts and charge whatever they want, however they want to do it. It's up to the corporation. Does that help answer the question in terms of monetization?
Well, we're a consulting company, and so we want to sell to all the corporations. And so
Okay.
I'm wondering if you have something
Gotcha.
like that where
We
you
do.
can market to all your customers, because they all have problems with their healthcare costs. And 80% of disease is preventable and reversible. And so the biggest item for savings is in healthcare, but they don't have the right information because they're using the wrong medical model.
Yeah, we can set up a partnership agreement. We work with consultants. So that's definitely something that we have already in place.
Okay,
If-
so
yeah.
if I get a connection with you, then you can help guide us through that process.
Yes, absolutely. And I can show you how to show you the whole platform, you know, give you a demo of the back end administrative. With the enterprise solution, there's a whole administrative aspect of it that's you know, built out with metrics. You can see all the analytics of each micro lesson, who's taken the lessons, how far they've taken, how far they've gotten into their courses, that sort of thing. You can also do API through our API solution reporting mechanism for all the learning. So it's built out for consultants as well.
Do you have to use cryptocurrency or can you use any currency?
There's no cryptocurrency presently involved in Learnie. We are building out a marketplace for Learnie, and we're actually doing a crowdfunding campaign right now through WeFunder, and we're doing pretty well with it. And we're going to use a portion of that money to build out the marketplace and integrate in the blockchain and the crypto. And then the rest of it is going to be used for marketing and sales and other development on the site.
Okay. Charlie has my connection, so I'm sure he'll help me get connected. Thank you. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead, Kurt. Tell us how to reach you and say goodbye.
Okay, well, thank you, Charles, for having me on, and it's been great meeting everybody. Lots of great questions. If you are interested in Learnie, download the app. Download it on your phone. You can download it on your iPad or smart pad, and it's in Apple Store and in the Google Play Store. Play around with it. If you want a demo, like a formal corporate demo for the enterprise solutions, we would be glad to schedule a demo. You can go to mylearnie.com and schedule a demo, or you can email me at kurt@mylearnie.com, KURT@mylearnie.com, and then we can set up a demo. And Charles, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. And next week I have Chadek Hanakash on True Freedom. And that's all I know about it so far. Watch for the email, and we'll get Kurt's presentation on how really to learn up on YouTube and other channels in a couple of days, hopefully. And thanks so much, everyone. I'm glad that we're continuing our Freedom Hub's weekly webinars, and have a great day.